To do this project, you're going to need to lay down a drop cloth or a piece of newspaper because you're going to be painting, obviously. So that's step one, is lay down. Again, I'm using a cloudless and a winter, a winter green. Again, they are supposed to be quick drying, easy clean, they're a matte acrylic. But again, at this price, you're going to want to get whatever colors you want. I have a bunch of these on hand in case I want to do any extra colors. So again, you got your drop cloth, and you're going to obviously need whatever paint choices you want to have on hand. Also, you're going to need, obviously, paint brushes and a little container or something that you can put paint in. This was an old one, so it's got old paint stuck on it here. But anything that you can pour your paint in to use. If you have something bigger than this, I would. These were just simple little trays I think I had gotten probably from the dollar store or something. But just anything that you can put your paint in. And an assortment of brushes for whatever one you feel the most comfortable using. If you plan on adding anything, you're going to want some sort of tacky glue. This was from the Dollar Tree, or any other type of super glue if you're going to put anything on your project like I'm going to do. Next, you might want some wooden letters if you want to write any words on your project. These were found at Walmart, and I believe they were just under $3, and they're a pack of 60 letters. Next up, might need some clothespins. Again, I have two different sizes here. I will decide, as you saw in the project, you'll see which ones I actually used. Again, I've got different sizes. You can even get ones that are bigger if you like as well. It depends on what you want to do with your project. These again were found at Walmart. I believe they were about just under $2 per pack. And although it doesn't say the sizes on here, I will try to put the sizes. This size is this much, or this long. This size is that long, to give you an idea of how big these are. And again, it's going to be your choice of what you want to use versus what I used. Next up, you may want to find some cute little attachment things. These are things that you could glue onto the board after you're done. I found a flower, or maybe it's a sun, I think it's a flower, and a butterfly. My daughter calls us the butterfly house, so she really wants me to use this one. But we'll see what happens once I get the project going. But these were about 77 cents a piece, found at Walmart, but I'm sure you can find something similar at a craft store in your. You'll also need an actual surface that you're going to be painting and working on. Now, it's a little hard to get this whole thing in camera, but this was found at Walmart again, and it's it's a palette plaque, they called it. Let me look down here. It's a palette plaque, they called it, and it is 11.88 inches by 15.88 inches. So again, this is a pretty big surface that we'll have to work with, and this again was found at Walmart, and it was around $5. What I liked about it, just turn it over here, is it already comes with the things so you can hang it on the wall a little. So those are the things that you're going to need to make this project. You may come up with other ideas, so if you have any other ideas, make sure you comment down below of things that you used for this project as well. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is obviously remove any stickers or whatever that are on your project. That were on the project. Make sure you kind of wipe it off, make sure there's no things in your way. And now you're basically going to start with the painting process. So what you're going to do, we have 4 different strips, and what I'm doing with my project is I'm going to paint the 2 outer ones in one color and the 2 inner ones in a different color. And as I said, you can do whatever paint colors you want to do, but I am going to again be using these colors, the winter green and the cloudless. The cloudless is going to go on the inner 2 ones, and the green is going to go on the outer 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get these open and get my paint ready, and we'll start with the first step. Now what you're going to want to do is, obviously, if I want these 2 inner colors to be, or 2 inner boards to be different than the out, I'm actually going to start with these and work my way out. So like I said, I want to use the cloudless color, which is a very light blue, on the 2 middle ones, and I want to use the winter green on the 2 outer ones. So I'm going to start with the inner ones, and all you're going to do is paint the 2 boards. And again, I'm just putting some paint onto one of my little containers here. And then your choices, like I said, I had a bunch of different paint brushes. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use, but I'm actually thinking I'm going to try to use, I think, this one first and see how it works. It's a little bigger. If you lay it against there, I think it will allow me to kind of coat it pretty good. But again, you can try with any of these. If you're curious, what you can always do is try on the back, paint something on the back side and see what you think of it. But again, once you're ready, pick out the brush that you want to use. I'm just using this, it's a soft bristle brush, and I'm just going to paint the inner boards. Okay, those are the two inner boards are painted. We're actually going to give this a little time to dry and then decide whether we need to do a second coat before we do the outer boards. So let these dry and then we'll come back and just a quick tip, don't forget when you do the things to do the edges too. I missed a spot, but I can touch that up later. So again, check the edges, because if you have any residue, or as you can see up there, I have a little mess, but you want to do the edges too, because when you're painting you might drip some along the edge, so go ahead and make sure you smooth out that side. And I think I just messed it up again. So I'm gonna have to go through and I'm just gonna touch up any paint, and we're just letting it dry. And what you also want to do is rinse out your brush. I got a new brush because that one was wet after rinsing it out, so it's always good to have two of the same brushes you may want to use, and then it's just a matter of letting it set. But I think I'll be okay to paint the outer ones because this is starting to dry. It'll dry as a matte finish. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to paint the outer ones too, so that everything can kind of be drying at once. So let's get our second color, which again is this winter green. And we're going to paint the outer boards. And being careful not to touch, obviously, where we are there, so that everything can kind of dry at once. But this is a great quick little project to kind of do up. And I like that green. I really do like that green with the blue. And these are the reason I picked these colors, I don't know if I mentioned, was actually because my curtains kind of have these colors in it a little bit. So I thought this would make it nice for downstairs. But you can change this up as a holiday one. Now see, when I do the edge, I'm going along the edge, I want to also go across the top too a little. But you can always touch up those edges a little later as well. Just being careful when you get closer to where the other one is, and then kind of checking your work as you go. But let's go ahead and get these two sides painted up so everything can dry. Okay, so you just kind of want to go kind of with the grain a little bit. I want all my strokes to kind of be going the same way. And your best bet is if once it's dry, you go back through and you'll look for any areas that you need to touch up. So let it dry and then go back through, and as you go around, look for anything that you need to touch up in either one of those colors. Just a quick little note, as you notice there's little bits of brown, the original color you can see in between each one. That will be up to you if you want to get a skinnier brush and try to go in there and paint that. I'm waiting for this all to dry, and then I will decide later whether I want to go in and try to put some paint of either one of these colors in these little areas, or I may even choose to do a totally different color. But again, we're going to let everything dry. I probably should have did those spots first, so heads up, if you can, I would try to go in there and do those spots first. What we want to do now is paint the clothespins. Excuse me. I used these 2-inch ones. I felt they'd be better suited. And all we're going to do is we're going to paint the top of them. So all I did was simply paint the top. I didn't worry about the sides. You can do the sides if you want, but because it's going to be on the board this way and you're mainly just going to see the front, that's the only thing I worried about painting. And I actually did 2 coats of each color, and what I actually only did was 2 in the green, excuse me, and 2 in the blue. And remember, because they're going to be glued on, it doesn't matter about painting the other side. So go ahead and give yourself some, paint the 2-inch clothespins with 2 coats of each color. And again, I did the winter green on 2 of them, and then I did this cloudless one, which is maybe doesn't show up that much. It's a very light blue color. And again, do 2 coats of that on the front of your clothespins. Again, 2 and 2. If I were you, you can also make up a couple extra just in case you decide you want to add some. So go ahead and do that. I decided I wanted to use the butterfly that my daughter suggested on it, as you can tell from the first picture. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint that. This time I wanted to have the colors pop, as you saw. So I wanted to use, this award blue, and then the yellow flame. The yellow flame is what I did in between those creases, if you remember. So we're going to use these 2 colors and we're going to paint our butterfly. All I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this part yellow, which may not show up as much on camera, but we're just going to paint our butterfly. Go ahead and let that top dry, and we're going to let this dry, so in case you want to do an extra coat. So I'm going to let this dry real quick. I'm going to do a second coat of the yellow on this, and then I'll come back and we'll do the wings. The yellow's still a little wet, but you can let it dry a little more. But I'm going to go ahead and go in there with doing the blue for the wings. And again, this time I'm using my chisel brush just because it's the mainly one I have on hand, and I know that I'm going to need to get into the creases a little more. So be careful how much paint you put on, and kind of work your way in. With the chisel brush, you can kind of go right in that line around his body, or her body. So just gently painting it. We're kind of outlining it first on one side, just kind of going in to the crease, and now the rest we can just paint. Okay, we got a nice pretty blue. We just need to let it dry. I'm going to hold it up a little bit while the edges dry. And I can start painting a little bit on this side, but again, that side needs to dry. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paint where I can on this side just to get the process started. And as you can tell, I made a little boo-boo that I'll have to go back and touch up with the yellow. So you're going to finish up your wings. You're going to let it air dry, go back through and touch up any areas that you need to do. and then we can move on to the assembly of the project, along with maybe another little thing we might add to it. Okay guys, I kind of assembled the board the way that I want it to be for myself, and what I did also is I had painted some letters. I'd also did them in blue, but I preferred the yellow, so I made sure I painted them, and when I did paint them, I really made sure I went around the edges as much as I could too, to make it look nice. And then I had this little heart, so I decided to do the same thing. I painted as much around the edges as I could. The back is yellow because I wasn't sure what color I wanted at first. But again, and then what I also did is I ended up painting the clothespin, which I believe I showed you guys. If not, I just painted the top mainly, and I did a little bit on the sides, not too much, but just to give the color when anyone's looking at the board from the side. So what you're going to do is when you have all your pieces together, go around and play around with different configurations, even different words that you may want. Do you want them to go across the top? Do you want them to be down? Do you want to put someone's name? So I'm going to just say that there's so many different options. You can really have fun. Don't glue anything down until you finish playing around with where you want the butterfly. I had some choices that I had it down here. So it really is a matter of your personal style. And this is what took the longest for me to decide. So although this is a very simple project, I mean, you basically buy the board, you're basically painting everything and then gluing it down. So I know that some people, if you're watching at this point, are like, you did a video for this? But I want to hope to inspire you guys to create something that you yourself will like. Is there a certain word that you would rather put there? And like I said, I did some in blue. I could have alternated the colors for each letter if I wanted. I can rearrange where these are going to be on the board. There's so many different options you can do to make this board more customized to you. Now, of course, now comes the fun part of gluing everything down. And I'm actually going to start kind of working my way up, I guess, because it's going to be easier for me to show. And the tip is, the glue that I'm using, which I showed at the beginning, is this tacky glue. I used it on an ornament video I did, where I glued the pieces down, and it's pretty sturdy, so I'm like, this should work pretty well with the clothespins. And it dries clear, so if you happen to make a mistake and you don't line it up right, and you're smushing it on the board, and you do see some glue that comes around the edges, it's going to be clear, so it won't totally distract as much as like a white glue would. So it comes out white, and then we're just going to carefully place all these around the way you want. Now for you, I eyeballed it, because that's just the way I roll, but if you want to, you could get a tape measure out and try to make sure everything is centered on the board where you want. So again, all I'm going to do now is just quickly glue everything down, and I'm just going to make sure I use a fine little bit of glue. So again, if I'm gluing on this, I only need a few dots, and I don't want to put too big of dots. And make sure you give the glue a little shake in case any of it's separated. Okay, so I just give it a little shake in the back, and then all I'm going to do is put a very little bit dots of glue on here, because when I squish it down, it's going to make it look more. And I know people are going to say, oh, then I'm going to see those stripes, or see the glue. But again, like I said, and you can kind of smear it a little bit if you could. But again, you shouldn't need too much. Okay, and then you're just going to place it where you want on the board. Like I said, I put it right there, and I'm going to smush it down. Now if you look on this one, excuse me, you can see a little residue. That's going to dry clear. So you're just going to kind of push it down, make sure it's the way you want it, and then just leave it alone. So I'm going to go ahead, excuse me, zoom back out here. I'm going to go ahead and glue all these pieces down and then let it set. I would say give yourself a good, almost, couple hours or so, or if not, almost a full 24 hours to let the glue actually set before you hang it up. And when the glue is finally set, make sure if you're giving this to a child that they understand that they can't get all wiggly with it, and that they go easy when they're pushing on the clothespin in order to hang something. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish gluing all this up, and then I'll show you a picture of it hanging on the wall. Okay, I've got it all up. I just only needed one finishing nail to hang it. Took a little bit to get it level, but I'm loving it near my office. I got it right above my flowers. I did this arrangement of flowers for just, again, fake flowers. But I thought this was a really cute addition because my computer is right here. So when I'm sitting, I can kind of look up. I can hopefully be inspired to actually make something. I've got a couple pictures, older pictures of my daughter. And like you can put like a gift card. Like I just wanted to show visually what you could put up there. Another thing that fits well up there is also if you have like index cards. So like say you have a note to yourself, The index cards are actually a really good size to kind of hang up on the spaces. But I'm really loving it. I just wanted to show it up on the wall. And I hope you guys, I can't wait to see how you're inspired to take this idea and make it your own. So if you do this video, which I hope you do, make sure you go to my Facebook page and show me pictures of your finished product. I'd love to see what you come up with. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you plan on doing a project similar to this. And make sure you hit the subscribe button to be notified of new videos in the future.